Okay, so what are you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen, other pairs we'll be analyzing today, but make sure you do stay to the end of the video because I do have a bonus pair in store. So make sure you stay to the end to find out which pair that is. But yeah, guys, first of all, we'll go through my trades for the week and then we'll progress into the video. So if there's a specific pair you are looking at for my analysis, just skip ahead on the timestamps. But yeah, without further ado, let's jump into the video. So EURJPY and NZD CHF were the two trades I had this week. I was carrying over CHF JPY from last week, which did result in a loss. Let me get that pair up now. So yeah, I was carrying this this trade from last week, which I was speaking to you guys about on my last weekly analysis. I had an entry around about here on that candle. Stop loss was trading above that prior high, and I did get stopped out for a loss on that one. Unfortunately, it did take me out just before absolutely plummeting to the downside. I did get into EURJPY, so I still did take advantage of that JPY strength, but unfortunately, I just got worked out on this one before the big move to the downside. So analysis and direction was spot on, just entered the trade a little bit too early with CHF JPY. Moving on to my trades for this week, EURJPY caught that one very, very well. Again, in hindsight, would have been nice to hold the trade all the way back down to these lows here. But again, more than enough risk to reward on this trade coming into this low here. Very, very nice trade taking from that resistance, and there was some other confluence coming into that trade there. Feel free to check out the Telegram. I post analysis there with the confluence, and also tune into the live streams as well. And NZD CHF, which I just hopped in before the week ended, the trading week ended. I just hopped into this trade here looking for another move to the upside. We've got some really nice bullish structure coming into play now. First push, retracement, second push. Looking for the third leg to the upside, back all the way up to these highs. I do have some areas I will be looking to secure some profit at, coming to resistance there, but I am looking for another swing low for NZD CHF for another bullish move to the upside. So again, similar to last week, I'm carrying this position from Friday over the weekend into next week. So I'll keep you guys updated with next week's analysis to the result of that trade. But on to the analysis for the week now. So as always, starting off with EURUSD. So EURUSD still pretty bullish. We had a strong move to the upside this week. Again, the market kind of opened up very, very bullish. I think we're trading around here, and the market just flew to the upside, taking out all of this structure here, 1, 2, and 3, all these highs, giving us that break of structure. So throughout the week, I was pretty much saying EURUSD were looking for some correction to buy back up again. However, coming into the week, we were trading at resistance. So I was looking to see if the market could hold this resistance for a move to the downside. But again, with the first kind of few hours of the trading week, we broke through that. So that setup was out the window very, very quickly. Now going into next week, the market's still looking pretty bullish. There's a few areas I'm looking at some retracements down to buying back up again. This area here still looks pretty good. This area here as well, that small level of support resistance. And also this area here where we had that consolidation in a few weeks into before big move to the upside. If I do whip out the old Fibonacci, you can see we do have some nice confluence down here of that 0.5 and also 0.618. So preferably, I still want the market to retrace back down into some of these areas, but we might get a shallow retracement, something like this, and then we get the bullish move to the upside. So if you are looking at trading EURUSD, I'll keep your eyes on 1.07250, 1.06700, and also 1.06300. Any of these levels do look good. Obviously, you want to monitor price action and the rejection to see if there's any valid setups to enter. Don't just enter straight away. Wait for some signs that the market is actually rejecting any of these areas. And then, yeah, looking to buy it back up and just take advantage of this move. Since the market has taken out all these structures here, it's telling us that the market is still definitely bullish, especially with this impulsive move here. So now all we want to see for EURUSD, some healthy retracement to either one of those areas, and then I'll start looking for some entries to take it back up again. But the bias for EURUSD is bullish. Targets for the week be back at the price swing highs. There's no kind of main area I'm targeting on the left here. I'll just be using the prior highs that the market's creating. So keep your eye out on any of those areas to buy it back up again. But for EURUSD, only looking for buys for next week. Okay, so now onto USD JPY. So the JPY pairs were falling this week. Again, USD JPY included. JPY is quite strong, and we did have a bearish bias for this particular market. Looking for more downside, I have been talking about this monthly level of prior resistance, which will be turned support when we come back down and retest this area, or if we do. But I'm expecting the market to come there, but yeah, obviously nothing there is for certain. But this is the target I have for USD JPY around the 125 mark, which I'm looking for us to head down towards. So jumping onto the 4H time frame, you can see we're not too far away now. So any pullbacks we can get to some valuable key areas, short opportunities will be looking good upon some confirmation. We had some really nice shorts from this area here. I did miss that trade unfortunately, but if you do see another pullback, can look to jump back into USD JPY short. So there's two areas I'm looking at: this price swing low here, which you've broken through quite nicely, and obviously this area here as well. Any pullbacks into these areas, I'll be monitoring price action in there on the hourly time frame, looking for some trades to enter to go short. So all I want to see for USD JPY is some retracement. All the JPY pairs are looking pretty bearish, so I just want to see retracement for them. Look for good entries at good areas and just get back into it and ride the trend. No need to overcomplicate it and do any more than that. The market is still very bearish, so just looking to ride that trend to the next key area, which is this 125 level on the monthly time frame. So looking at more downside, hopefully you can get a pullback into 129.761 or 131.520. We'll monitor price action and targets at 125 for USD JPY for next week. Okay, so over to USD CAD. So USD CAD still with the bearish bias for myself, looking for a push back down into these lows here. Again, there's numerous levels of support which the market's starting to tick off. Now we've hit this level, we've just about coming to that level with that spike. So next key area is the support level down here at 1.323. So just looking at some good retracement for this one to get back into some shorts. During the week, I was speaking a lot about this area and also this area here, which are still very valid places to look for some shorts, but the market's now creating resistance around here. So we might not get to these areas. If the market starts to show more heavy rejection around there, this might just be the lower high formation we're looking for, because USD CAD has gone from making equal highs here to start to making some steady lower highs. So basically, I'm just looking for the next lower high. You know, ideally a lower high up here would be very, very nice healthy pullback, get the next lower high formation, next drop to the downside. But and the market's not always going to do what you want it to do. Sometimes it will give you some shallow retracements, sometimes it will give you some bigger retracements than expected. Always have to react and adapt to the situation. So if the market starts to reject this area heavily at 1.343, we might potentially form the lower high around these parts. So this could be a good place to start looking for some trades. Obviously, the areas that do have above will still be good areas to look to short from if this level here doesn't hold. So I will be looking at these areas here a lot. But in terms of bias and everything, is pretty clear to the downside. I'm only going to be looking at some shorts for USD CAD. The structures to the downside, everything's pointing to the downside. So for me, as an intra-week swing trader, of course there might be some buying opportunities on the lower time frames, but for me, I'm only going to be focusing on some sells. So USD CAD targets for next week, back down to that prior low at 1.323. Areas of interest, we've got this level here at 1.343, we've got this low here at 1.347, and this area here at 1.352. So keep an eye on those areas, but looking for some more downside for USD CAD. Okay, so now over to Euro Pound. So it's still very, very corrective. I'm still not a fan of this pair at the moment. The market, however, is still trading in a very key area of resistance on the daily chart. You can see the market still struggling to break through. Did get a slight close above, but the market's coming straight back into that level. So the market evidently is having a hard time to break through this. And if we can keep this price action up, I would expect to see a push to the downside for Euro Pound. Like I've been saying, I still do expect Euro Pound to eventually go bullish, but I do want to see some retracement for this one. Then I'll look to buy it back up instead of looking to try and enforce some buys at these highs, which doesn't really make too much sense. So this is definitely seller's territory, and it's still looking like we can see a move to the downside. So for Euro Pound, I'll be focused on the prices around 0.886 into this level of resistance, especially where all these 4H wicks have been printing here. So tons of wicks on the 4H. You know, this is where you want to be looking to sell the market. So if we can see a push back underneath this level, give some wick to the upside in the 4H or some rejection on the lower time frames, you can look to enter the market around those areas. Stop loss above the zone like so. Put it above there, but it's not too necessary because if the market does get back above this area again, it's most likely going to start breaking to the upside anyway. So a stop loss above the zone will make a lot of sense. And then obviously targets back down to this key area here and potentially further if you want to push the trade. But this support level is obviously shown to be a very strong level. So it would make a lot of sense looking to take profit there or just exit the trade altogether coming into that area. But for Euro Pound for next week, for now, I still do have a bearish bias. It's not the cleanest of pairs. Personally, I won't really be focusing on the pair too much unless something changes drastically. But if you get similar price action to this, I'm not going to be looking to trade it. But if you are, sells what you're going to be looking for at these highs. And we do have a nice clear support level which you can look to target as well. So sells from around 0.886 look good. Targets 878 look good as well. So that's the plan next week for Euro Pound. Okay, so on to AUD USD. So the market here is still bullish, still creeping to the other side. Long term, I'll still be going on about the big bearish short I'm looking at for AUD USD back down to these lows. However, the market is still printing to the upside. It's not invalidated because we're still trading underneath this significant structure, that price swing low. So the market could still turn around at any point, but we are still bullish and we still got respect what the market is currently doing. So for AUD/USD, buys are still your best bet going into next week. We've had a really nice break and retest of this price resistance here. So obviously strong rejection. Markets come up here, it did hold a support. Now we're seeing some more upside momentum from that. So as long as we stay above this 0.688 area, level, I would still expect some more upside for AUD/USD. I'm looking at a very key level here as well, coming to some resistance around here, around 0.70400, where potentially you could see some sellers step back into the market. But as of right now, the market is still pretty bullish here, and we could potentially still see more upside and maybe even the break of that structure there, who knows. But right now AUD/USD is still bullish, so I would only be looking for buys for this one until we break through some bullish structure, and then I can look to change my bias. But at the moment, buys is still the best bet for AUD/USD. So if you can get a pullback back down into this area, great place to look to buy the market back up again. And stop loss underneath the zone as well. Got some nice trendline confluence coming to the market there as well. Targets back to highs or potentially that 0.704 area, depending on how far you want to push the trade. But that's completely up to you. But for me, AUD/USD is still very bullish. We can see the clear bullish structure in place in the market here. I'll just zoom out. You can see we've got the highs and the higher lows perfectly in sync here. Missing some of the highs there, but you guys get the idea. The market is still very clean with these highs and lows. So all we're looking for is the next kind of pullback and then the continuation to the upside, and next target will be back at the highs, and then we've got that 0.704 area as well. So hopefully AUD/USD you can see a pullback similar to EURUSD and USD CAD, looking for the pullbacks for the dollar pairs and the JPY pairs as well, back into 0.688, and then buys back to highs for next week. Okay, so now on to NZD CAD. So NZD CAD has been quite corrected now. I've been particularly bearish on the pair, but now I'm starting to back away as things get quite corrective and a little bit sideways. You can see we've had some really nice bearish structure here in the market, but now we're starting to run out of momentum and potentially we could be moving a bit sideways. So for me, I'm no longer favoring NZD CAD sells. The market structure is still bearish. We haven't really taken out any significant structure. You can still see the lows in the market, potentially could still form another one and still roll over. However, the sales aren't looking as good anymore because of the lack of momentum in the market, and we may be actually forming a little bit of a bowl shape pattern here, getting ready for a push to the upside, because we still do have all of this impulse momentum. This could just be the correction, and now we can see another impulse to the upside as well. So I do think the buys do look good for NZD CAD only if we can see another impulse move to the upside. Then I'll look for the correction and then buy it back up again on the next higher low. Reason I say that, the market's having a really hard time trying to make new lows. If I quickly go in the weekly time frame, you can see we got a lot of wicks here to the downside as well. So even from a weekly perspective, momentum is fading to the downside as well. And we could be seeing the buy step back into this market. But first, like I said, I want to see a strong impulsive move to the upside, then wait for the correction to buy it back up again. Reason I say that is because I want to see some bullish structure. Right now, the bears are still in control of this market, even though it's quite corrective. I want to see the market give me an impulse, correction, impulse to show that the buyers are now stepping in, and that's when I'll look to take my trades on the retracement. We do have the impulse here. This looks like it is the correction of that impulse. So now I just want to see evidence that the buyers are back in play, and then I'll look for my retracement to buy it back up again. So this is what I'm looking at for NZD CAD, a break and retest of these highs, and then I'll look for my buys on the top of this level at 0.858, and then stop loss will go underneath once I get some good confirmation. Targets, if you're feeling good, you can probably push it back down, back up all the way to the highs up there. Again, risk to reward looks very, very favorable, but you probably want to be taking profit as we head up there. There are some few levels here on the left you can probably aim for, but overall, if the market is going to continue this bullish trend from that impulse there, you would expect it to get to the highs anyway. But that is the trade opportunity I've got on for NZD CAD. Again, it's only valid if I do see that impulsive break to the upside. If we just roll over, then we might just see the market continue to range like so, and then I'll definitely be staying out the market for NZD CAD. If I can see that impulsive move, I'll be more than happy to trade it, and overall looking for a push back to the highs up at 0.887 for next week. Okay, so up next we've got Pound NZD. So Pound NZD still looking very, very corrective, probably not the best pair to be trading at the moment. However, I still expect us to reach 1.88, this daily level of support. We had all this momentum came to the upside after that huge fake out to the downside, and all that momentum completely depleted, completely vanished. So I'm expecting us to return back down to that support to retest the origin of where that momentum came from, which is at 1.88. So as long as we remain in this bearish structure here, I expect us to eventually roll over and test that support unless we completely explode to the upside and break through some structure, which could happen at any point really, because all of this kind of tightly knit price action in that corrective nature is normally price kind of just building up, getting ready for a big explosion, whether that's to the upside or to the downside. That's completely up to Pound NZD. But all I can say is if we remain in this structure, creating these lower lows and lower highs, I do expect us to test 1.88. So if you're looking for Pound NZD, looking to trade Pound NZD, I'd focus on the extremes of the structure, which is more or less where this trend line meets price action. Every time we come into this trend line, the market seems to reject it and form a lower high. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 times we come into this level, 8 times we have rejected it. Maybe not this 8th time, we've just seen a slight rejection, but each time before that we've come to the downside from this area. So you want to be focusing your shorts up at these areas, not in around here, because this is where you're very, very likely to get a stop loss just basically on the fluctuation of current price action. So coming to this resistance here, Pound NZD is looking pretty good to short as long as we don't have that breakout. If we have that breakout, then you're probably best looking for some buys on some correction afterwards, which I'll show in a second. But if you can respect this area here, these are the sells that look good. Obviously targets into the support level here do make a lot of sense as well. But if you want to push the trade a little bit further, you do have the daily target there that I've been talking about at 1.88. But if we do get an exposure to the upside and a big breakout, then we'll be expecting to see the trend line in the resistance break, something like that, take out some of these significant highs, then get some correction to the downside, retest some structure, then buy it back up again on the retest of that resistance. So that buy there could be a very, very nice setup if we do get that breakout. If not, then the sell is what you want to be focusing on, since that is the current nature of the market. So for me right now, I'm still bearish on Pound NZD, looking for 1.88. You're looking to sell the market. It's coming into a very, very nice area. So early in the week, monitor price action around there. London session Monday, see what happens. If you get nice price action, nice candlestick formation, you can look to enter and take your trade to the downside. If it doesn't hold and we break to the upside, then the buys look equally as good. So that's what I've got going for Pound NZD. It's very, very corrective. I probably won't be focusing much on the pair since it's still lacking quite momentum. But if you do get some rejection, there could be a nice little trade there back down to the downside. So still looking at more shorts for Pound NZD back down to 1.88 for next week. Okay, so now on to CAD Yen. So CAD Yen particularly very bearish this week, as you can see, strong impulsive move. No real pullbacks with this one, maybe in the lower time frames, but here in the full H we were consolidating and broke to the downside very, very sharply. Again, we did have a bearish bias for this one. We are looking for us to return back to retest this key weekly area down here at 93. So not too far away now, still expecting more downside as long as we keep up this bearish momentum and that bearish structure. I do see us revisiting this area here at 93. So similar to JPY, we got that key higher time frame level, which we're slowly working our way towards. And all we're looking for is pullbacks to keep shorting the market essentially. Again, with CAD JPY is a little bit tricky. I mean, my favored area will be price coming back to retest this consolidation, giving us that kind of third lower high there. So we've got one over here, second one, and the third one. But again, I'm not too sure if we'll have that pullback. If we do, we'll be looking at shorts from around 97,500, and again looking for a push back down to the swing low, and then potentially into 93. May leave some positions to trickle. But yeah, that's my best kind of preferred setup for CAD Yen. But what we might get is a retest of this structure here. You can see we did form support over here, nice retracement. We did break underneath it, a few wicks to the downside where the market didn't hold. Now we might come up to it, reject it again, and then potentially sell off. If the market doesn't have that deeper retracement, we could get that shallow retracement and then get the continuation from that move there. So CAD Yen, just looking for some shorts at key areas, and these are the only two key areas I can really spot that do look good. The retest of this prior support here at 96,126, term resistance, or a bigger pullback into 97,500 up there. If we do go and violate the structure, that's when I'll step away and we might be looking at a bit of a reversal. But as long as we don't break through this prior swing high here at 99,300, only looking at shorts, and next major target is back down at 93 on that weekly level. So hopefully we can see some retracement this week and we don't just drop to the downside of market open. Hopefully you can see some nice retracement into one of these two areas. We'll monitor price action, looking for confirmations. But yeah, we're looking for shorts from that 96,100 level and 97,500, and targets back down at 93 for CAD Yen next week. Okay, so next up, Pound USD. So not much from this one. We did start off pretty bullish from this area here this week, but mainly kind of consolidation for Pound USD after breaking through these highs. Now we've had a successful retest of that. I do have a bullish bias for Pound USD. Next major swing point is back at these highs here at 1.24. As long as we stay above 1.21, I would expect us to get there after we've now cleared those highs and create some new highs there. So Pound USD, very similar setup to AUD in terms of we've got the break and retest. Now looking to see if we can revisit that area to look for that next higher low for some buys to the upside. Again, nothing too crazy with Pound USD. I was hoping to see if we can get a deeper retracement for that one, but we respected this 1.21 area, and now we just cleared those highs and formed some new highs there for Pound USD. So for me, bullish bias after breaking through the structure. Higher time frames are showing that the market's gaining momentum again. And actually, if I do go to the higher time frames, particularly on the weekly chart, and actually do highlight this key area here, you can actually see we've actually left a big wick into this zone here on last week's candle, and now this week's candle is kind of confirming that momentum shift. You can see this is once was a very key support, big wick to the downside, big rejection, big fake out there. So the market is now starting to hold this 1.2 area as support. So there is a strong possibility Pound USD will make it back up to 1.24 as long as we stay above that area. So just looking for another retest of that support, stop loss below, waiting for entry confirmations, then targets. Again, back to those highs will look good as well. If you want to push the trade a little bit further, you've got 1.24 up there as well. But yeah, definitely looking for buys for next week for Pound USD, targets at 1.24. Okay, so next up we got Pound CAD, which is still quite corrective, but I still do have a bearish bias for this one until we break structure, which is with this prior high here. If we break through that, then I'll switch bias completely with Pound CAD, but I still have that bearish structure, similar setup to EURUSD. It's a little bit corrective. I'm still looking for a push back down into this weekly level of support, which we broke through for a lot of momentum, looking to see if we can get the retest, maybe continuation back up or break back underneath. But I am looking at a retest of that weekly level. Back on the 4H time frame, you can see we do have that bearish structure in place. We've got the high, low, lower high, low. Find that lower high there, and potentially you could still be forming a lower high to roll back over. Like I said, it's quite corrective and could end up going sideways as well. So with this setup, if we do break through structure, the buys do look good on the break and retest, but because we haven't had that impulsive push to the upside breaking through structure, sales is still the best bet. Coming to this area, we do have some nice trendline confluence coming into that resistance as well. So Monday morning, we are trading in that area. So if you do see some good rejection, there could be some nice sells to start the week with pound CAD. I would say be quite wary with your take profits and not trying to push the trade too far. Although I do have that weekly level as a potential target, coming into this support level here, which has had many wicks, could indeed reject price and potentially have that breakout to the upside. Or we could come into this low here as well and then potentially push to the upside as well, because like I said, the market's quite corrective. We could end up going sideways and never actually hit that level there. So it is important to make sure you're taking your profit at suitable areas. So for pound CAD, since we're still trading the structure, monitor this level here around 1.637. See if you can see a bit more rejection there coming into the London session on Monday. If we get sufficient rejection, could be some nice trades back down to 1.62, then potentially 1.61, and obviously potentially 1.6 into that weekly level. If we don't and we break through structure, then we can swap that bias around and start looking for the correction back to the downside to buy it back up again. So we could be heading up back to those highs and see some bullish momentum come back into the market. But like I said, I do want to see that structure break there at 1.6453. So if that does happen, we'll look for the higher low formation and the retest of that area. Stop loss underneath the zone, waiting for confirmation and buys back to the highs at 1.675, 1.68. So that's the plan there for pound CAD. We'll have to wait to see what type of rejection we get on Monday, because we could just break straight through and the sales be completely invalid, or we might get some good rejection and we can set it down to some of these targets down there. But that will be the plan for pound CAD going into next week. Okay, so now on to pound yen, which is looking particularly bearish here. Again, another JPY pair falling to the downside. If I go to the weekly chart, actually, you can see that we do have some sufficient price action here, which does indicate that we could be on for a big reversal. You can see I've highlighted this key weekly level support. We've got a bunch of wicks into this area, so a lot of rejection from this support. And each time we've had a breakout in the past, the market's closed below and goes straight back above the level very quickly. You can see here again, closed below, straight back above quickly. However, this time we've closed below, and now the market's starting to throw some wicks to the upside as resistance. We're failing to get back above this level, which could be the catalyst of a major down move for pound yen and potentially a reversal of this bullish trend. It has been very corrective, so you would expect it to eventually reverse, and now it could be the time to reverse. Next key areas of targets for the weekly time frame, we've got 149.500 back down here. We've got this level of support here as well, and we do have this support here, which we're more or less coming to test now. But that's what I'm expecting for pound yen, for these levels to be ticked off sooner or later. But we do have a pretty bearish market on our hands here. So now all I'm looking for is just some good retracement to set it down into these areas. I've got a couple of areas I'm looking at. This is the number one preferred area. If we can get to this area, I'm not too sure if we will. But if we can get some retracement back to 158.5, 158.600, 159, I will be looking for some sells for the next bearish swing to the downside at this area. You can see very key support once, twice, a third time, and potentially can test it again as resistance. Give us that third major lower high, 1, 2, 3, then maybe that could be the catalyst for a big swing to the downside. And also I'm looking for the retest of this prior low, which also lines up with that weekly level there as well. Let me just remove some of this stuff. So I'm also looking at the retest of this prior low here. If the market just keeps throwing us this bearish momentum, we break underneath, then we might get more of a shallow retracement to retest that and then get the continuations to the downside. But either which way, for me, pound yen is a very bearish pair. So I'm just looking at these targets here to the downside getting ticked off. So we're more or less coming to the first level here, which is 155. 155. Break through that, I'm looking at 151, 750. Then next I'm looking at 149 there. So those are the targets I'm expecting pound yen to be trading towards over the next few weeks. I was going to say a couple of weeks, but it could be a little bit longer depending if momentum remains. But that's the plan for pound yen. So keep an eye on 159 for some shorts, and also the break and retest of 155 as well. But yeah, expecting more downside for next week for pound yen. Okay, so next up we got gold. So gold looking particularly bullish this week. As you can see, ripping to the upside. We've been very bullish on gold as of late. Ever since this bullish structure really started to come into play, all we'll be looking for is buys on gold, and gold is still ripping to the upside and actually smashing into the target we've had, which is this one was our prior target from last week, and this is the target for this week. As you can see, we're actually trading slightly above it. So next key level I've got for gold is going to be 1960 up at that prior high. You can see really nice resistance here as well for that wick down the left, and we had a bit of a fake up there as well. But 1960 is the next area of value for me on gold on the daily time frame. So again, as long as this market structure remains and we still see the high highs and high lows and we don't violate structure, I'm only going to be looking to buy the pair. I know we're a little bit overextended, so I would want to see retracement for gold at the very least for me to get into the market, but I'm personally looking at buys coming back into the consolidation into this low here, some retracement into 1870 around there, and then I'll start looking for buys back up again. Targets probably back to the price swing high, depending if we fall from there or go a little bit higher, but wherever that price swing high is will be the main target. Then I would expect us to eventually go and hit 1960. But in terms of the direction for gold and what I'm looking to do is definitely just looking for buys upon some good retracement. So for gold for me, definitely bullish bias. Next kind of key level we're going to be working towards is 1960. So again, don't necessarily have to buy it in one go. Maybe you can get 2 or 3 trades until we get to 1960. But as long as we don't violate structure, so as long as we don't break through this prior low here at 1866, I'm still going to be very bullish on gold. So looking for some retracement next week. Hopefully we'll get some retracement back down to 1870. If not, there might be some shallow retracements in the lower time frames. Gold might just do a slight correction, retest some structure here, and then fly off to the upside, depending if momentum is still present there. So there could only be opportunities on the lower time frames. But if you do get some bigger retracement, I'll be more than happy to buy gold back up again. So for me, for gold, looking for some longs back down around the 1870 area. Nice confluence there, the trend line, the key level, and that consolidation there as well. Targets will be back at highs, and eventually looking at 1960 for gold. Okay, so now on to Bitcoin, which has had a very big move to the upside here, really picked up momentum over the past few days, and now we're trading at some critical areas where Bitcoin can look to topple over and reverse. For me personally, I'm still bearish overall on Bitcoin. The market is still heading to the downside, still giving us lower lows and lower highs. So coming back into significant areas like this, I do think we can have a nice bearish reaction and see some downside, and even coming into this area here of resistance as well, I do think we can see some nice downside. So if this area doesn't hold here, we break straight through. Next area of interest around the 24k mark, I do think the sellers can start stepping in heavily, but this is definitely one of them. So we can monitor price action in the 4H. Again, it's too early to signify if the market is going to tumble over or break through. The market is slowing down, which does make sense coming into such a key area, but we could just see another 4H candle breaking straight through and heading to that secondary area at 24k. So monitor price action here. If we can see some good rejection here and some good signs of reversal, there could be some nice sales stepping back into the market, ready for potentially the next major bearish swing, because all of this bullish momentum will get people buying at these highs, which is a great place to look to catch the next main bearish swing, which is what we're looking for back down to 13 to 12k. So these are the areas where it will look good to short Bitcoin, 24k and also 20k 700, 20,700 around these areas will look good to short Bitcoin and take advantage of that next bearish swing. If we break through this high, that's when we could probably sit back and maybe start to question if Bitcoin will actually still roll over some more. But right now, coming to these significant areas, shorts are still looking very, very good, despite all this bullish momentum, which has definitely got some people buying at the highs there. So if you're looking at Bitcoin, shorts still look good coming to these highs. Monitor price action down the 4H. I wouldn't really go any lower than the 4H time frame, especially for these major moves here. So monitor price action down the 4H. Still a little bit too early to signify if the market's going to hold or break through, but these are the areas of interest that look good for Bitcoin. So keep an eye out on the current price action at where we're trading right now, 20,700, 20,800. If that doesn't hold, and we'll look at 24k for the next bearish swing. But if that does hold, we could be looking at a push back down to these lows and eventually back down to 13 and 12k. So that still remains the plan for Bitcoin going into next week and the next few trading weeks ahead. Okay, so now onto the bonus pair and the last pair for today. Last but not least, we've got Aodu JPY, which was the bonus pair of last week and is still the bonus pair of this week. I still do think there's a good opportunity with this one and still a lot more downside for it as well. If we go in the daily time frame here, you can see the market is rejecting this area. This is the area I was talking about last week, key level of support. was holding here, support, 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 now acting as resistance, and we do also have that key trend line confluence coming into play there as well. So looking at the market heading back down to this level of support, it's not too far away, but I do expect us to break through it and head to this level here on the weekly around the 86 mark as well. So I do expect some more downside into those areas. If I whip out the old measuring tool, you can still see from current price, still got about 300 pips left to the downside if the price is going to hit my target, of course. But for now, for JPY, I'm just looking for pullbacks to short it to the downside. Areas of interest, I've got a couple for this. Let me just get rid of this. We know that, we know those trend lines and levels are there. We don't really need them on the market anymore. Two areas of interest I'm looking at for JPY, depending how far we get the pullback, into 89,950. So this is the area that I'll first be looking at, and obviously if that level doesn't hold, I do have a level slightly above it, which was the level I was hoping price could retrace during the week, but it didn't. It just tumbled to the downside, which is at 91 here as well. So still looking at shorts at 91. If you do get retracement into that area around about where the trend line is as well, some really great confluence around that, but we might just see a slight pullback into that in the week and then a continuation. But this is what I'm looking at for JPY. Next major target is 87,700. Then beyond that, we've got 86 down there. So it depends how far you're looking to push the trade, what you're looking for from your trades. 86 is my overall swing target, but I probably won't target there. I'll probably just target this low, and I might leave some small positions to run on if things do look good. But this will be the main target for next week, and then beyond that we've got 86. But that is definitely the plan going to next week. Shorts from 89,831 or 90,800 up there. So that's the plan for ADJPY. But yeah, guys, that brings us to the end of the weekly analysis. I hope you have enjoyed it, found it useful. If you are new and haven't subscribed yet, then what are you waiting for? Make sure you go smash the subscribe button for me, please. If you have enjoyed the video, make sure you do leave a like. It does really help out the channel as well. Make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. But thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll catch you all in the next one.